Hey, we're online, no problems at all. No technical issues at all, right, Abby?
Never. Smooth sailing. So tell me about this podcast you were listening to.
We're going to talk about that.
The
Me
Tony
again?
Robbins? The Tony Robbins, was it?
I thought we were going to talk about trauma,
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to that.
psychological abuse.
Okay, fine. Let's do that.
Mm. Well, you can do that. I mean, we can start with this.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, I was listening to the Diary of a CEO podcast, which it's hit and miss for me. It's very, very well produced. I think it's number 2 in the world right now. Very clean podcast, but he has a whole team that does research on all of his guests, so it's pretty intense. But anyway, Tony Robbins, love him or hate him, I don't love him, I don't hate him. I don't think I'd go to one of his seminars. I'd probably have a good time if I actually went there. You know, it's like, you remember that movie Yes Man with
Yeah.
Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he didn't want to go to that conference, and then he went, and then he couldn't help, but the energy just kind of rubbed off on him.
Totally.
Before he knew it, he's totally into it.
Yeah.
Um, and anyway, so yeah, that's Tony Robbins. He's very big, right? And so he was just talking, and he's like 66 years old or something like this, and he's like, you'd be stupid not to listen to a guy like that, and just and if you closed the door in his face and didn't listen to what he had to say, I think you're a fool, because a guy that's lived that long and done that much and rubbed shoulders with, I mean, he used to advise President Clinton all the way up through, like he's advised all the presidents. So he was just talking about these 6 universal needs, and it really kind of impacted me, because I'm kind of like coming off the back of understanding that I'm an avoidant attachment, and Tara is too. So we've been on this like journey figuring that out, which has been very kind of like a bit of an upheaval in the way that I've lived, and up to this point of just like letting stuff out and talking. And then I've also been really just fighting my demons, like with performance, and it's like, even with this podcast, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I offering that hasn't already been done? Like, this is bullshit. Like, what are you doing? Like, who would listen to you
Who do you think
when you,
you are?
yeah, when you've got like thousands of really good podcasts? Like, what have you got to offer the space? And it's like, that can be so paralyzing. It's like, if you wanted to start music, you could either think, yeah, I feel like I've got some songs in me and I want to write these songs, or you could think, holy shit, what's the point? Because there's 100 million songs out there. Why would my song matter?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden becomes what other people think, not what you want to do. And you're steered. So these 6 universal needs, and I'll try and muddle my way through them, but basically, he's saying that we have 6 universal needs that shape our personality, and they're usually shaped from childbirth, like not childbirth, but child rearing.
Childhood.
That's where the imprinting, the kind of map of you, where how you were raised shapes who you are today, which I think everybody knows. So the 6 universal needs that he states, and it's on his website, and I've been like reading my way through them, but the first one is certainty. Certainty is assurance you can avoid pain and gain pleasure. So certainty would be like, I have to have a full-time job, I have to have money in the bank, all of these things have to happen. And so that's your top kind of driver in life, and everything filters through certainty. The other one is uncertainty and variety, which is the need for the unknown, change, and new stimuli, which I originally thought I was right off the bat, but then I read the kind of subtext beneath that on what uncertainty and variety was. And I actually think I have more certainty than uncertainty, although everyone that looks at me would think, oh, you uncertainty because you're an adventurous person. But maybe that's just been changed because of life circumstance, like payroll and family and mortgage and all of that. The other one is significance, which is feeling unique, important, special, or needed. and then connection and love/love, which would be a strong feeling of closeness or union with someone or something. So those four he classes as your personality, and the last two are more spiritual, which would be growth, be an expansion of capacity, capability, or understanding, and contribution, which is a sense of service, focus on helping and giving and supporting others. I actually think that I've got that wrong. I think growth is up in the personality and connection is down with the spiritual. Yeah, that would make more sense, right? Like love and connection. So the way he does it with when he goes to these massive stadium, events, he says, put your hands up if certainty is, top of the list for you. And, he sees a show of hands. And the interesting thing is that he said I don't know, I think he's been doing it 20 or 30 years, this type of thing, like doing stadium type of events. He's like significance since the dawn of social media has gone from like 40% of people needed to be significant. Now it's like 85 to 90% of people slam their hands up because there's this massive need now to be significant. And I think that's why I was feeling like, what's the point in doing a podcast? It's insignificant, and the need and arriving somewhere is to be significant. And he said, social media, he's watched it. He's watched the trend change and
It's
he says,
become
it's
our
scary.
oxygen, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That need for what's the point of doing it if it's not going to be noticed and,
Right.
bring success.
Yeah. And they say, I don't know, like the career people say that the main job that kids want these days or teenagers want is to be an influencer. So it's like if you were living back in the hunter-gatherer, it'd be like, well, I want to be a hunter because clearly the hunter gets all the favor. He gets the best woman. Now it's like our filter is, no, I want to be an online personality because then I get
Financial
free passes
reward.
into the nightclub, financial reward, fame, adulation. And before we had all of this, that was really, really low on the scale because you were just relating to people in your orbit.
Plus, if in a small community, it was very attainable to achieve notoriety if you owned a business and you've got that reciprocity, and it doesn't take that much work within your community, and that's all the people you know. So if you only know 100 people and you're the only plumber in the neighborhood, it's very within reach. There's the pool, it was very small, whereas now the pool is ginormous. Like the rewards are probably financially greater and the fame and all of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, on a smaller scale, that would have been achieved through running a business with integrity and, being known in the village for having a reputation. But it's kind of
like
global now.
I kind of try and remember growing up in Launceston, in England, and what it was just like my orbit was just like those who like Guy Williams, Alec. It was just people that I rubbed shoulders with. I think I don't know. I mean, obviously, when I got into bike racing and I started watching, because the first taste I got of this is I got into road bike racing, and then I watched the Tour de France on television, and all of a sudden I felt inadequate because that was the pinnacle of the sport that I was doing, and so that it drove, like he says that all of these 6 universal needs have a shadow side, but there's also a good side. Like if certainty is your main driver, if that's shaping your personality, then that forces you to get a job, buy a house, put food on the table. So there's a good side to it. But there's also a shadow side to each one of these, or the first 4 anyway.
It's similar to Jordan Peterson, where he talks about order versus chaos, and that both are necessary. So ordering your life and making your bed in the morning and walking with your back straight and getting your life in order is what Tony Robbins is calling, what's he calling that?
That would be certainty.
Right. So those are the things you can control. It's taking care of a dog, having routine, tending to plants, like when Jordan Peterson works with people with severe mental illness, he'll start by saying, start making your bed in the morning, have breakfast at the same time, get a plant, look after the plant, and then that will scale up to eventually owning an animal. And it's the responsibility and bearing the burden of responsibility. And then there's the chaos, which is high creativity and risk taking and, taking a chance and artistry and all the things that you thought were probably at the front. But actually, I would say from a young age, you've been very, very ordered. So when you look at someone's bedroom, that really indicates what's going on in their mind. And you were always exceedingly ordered. So even though you've got that creative, chaotic side that's spontaneous and risk-taking, behind closed doors, which is really where the shadow self is the true self, it's like you're a very ordered person.
Yeah, I mean, I used to get up before the sun rose when I was 12 years old, I think, kneel down beside my bed and pray through a list of people.
A laundry list.
Yeah, well, you guys were all sleeping, and then I'd go walk before the sun had even come up, walk muffin.
Yeah.
And I would pray while I walked. And so, yeah, and then I created a gym in this little like back shed with like bricks and stuff. So yeah, I guess I was surprised to read through the subtext of it and think, oh, I was actually really surprised. Think, oh yeah, certainty is more on top than uncertainty.
I
always thought of myself as more super adventurous, but maybe it was calculated risk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so the interesting thing is that he said, so what he does with his folks is he says, what's the top two? And like significance is almost in everybody. I feel that. I don't know if you do. I feel like this craving to be significant, and I fight that. It's a battle, internal battle. Like I was just talking to Tara the other day. I was like, what if I just shut all that down and just try to if all the energy that I put into posting on Instagram and running this podcast and doing whatever and just put it into my community. And I am pretty active in my community. Like I'm not a total, I'm not a online, troll at all. But what if we put all of the energy that we focus into trying to please people that we'll never meet in our lifetime and put it just into touching people in our community, how much more fruitful that would be. But there's something that feels less than that's going on is when for me anyway, I feel like it's like, yeah, but I could affect thousands. It's like, well, you can't really, because as soon as you are irrelevant, like where's Jordan Peterson now? 8 months he's been gone. I've almost forgotten he existed.
Yeah.
He hasn't posted anything online for 8 months because of his sickness. And in my head, it's like I've gotten used to it now.
Yeah. On to the
Okay,
next.
he's gone. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, so what he gets to do is people to find out their top two. So mine, I think if I did it, would be significance and uncertainty, probably uncertainty. And then he gets them to write find the top one and then write a paragraph on the negative sides of that top one, not the positive sides. And then what he tries to get people to do is to imagine themselves moving forward, so projecting forward. And he says, raise your hands if moving forward, if everything was taken care of in your life, what would you want your top one to be? And he says, put your hands up if it's love and connection. And the whole place puts their hands up. And then put your hands up if it's like contribution. And same, it's a big ray of hands. So the last two, so connection and love and contribution are more spiritual. So the other ones are more practical, I guess, or our personality, and the other two are spiritual, like love and connection. So he gave this kind of testimony of his life. He said, when I used to do these conferences and there'd be 10,000 people there, I would stay until 3 or 4 in the morning, signing every single autograph and getting every single picture with every human being, because that's how I felt significant, and connection and love were a big one for him. Like that's what started his whole thing, was connection and love. Like he's a real lover. He cries all the time and he just loves helping people. So now he's readjusted everything and he got married to his wife, and he goes, now I leave at 7:00. I go home and I get my connection and love from my wife. So instead of finding it in significance in people, in other people, I find it in love, which is with my wife. Might be a bit jumbled up there, but that was kind of the shift. So what he tries to get people to do, he goes, especially if you're kind of like in your 40s and you've already got your home and you're, these, it's kind of like that fight or flight. Like, there is a time to fight, but if you keep fighting all the way through your life, it becomes actually a dark thing. It destroys you. So he's like, the certainty that drove you has got you so far, but maybe it's time to reevaluate and figure out, because he says what you can do is that you can change this and you can move love to the top and contribution or growth to the top. But it takes loads and loads of brainwashing in a way to rewire your brain to see gain in those things, because we would probably put love and say contribution at the bottom of our hierarchy of importance, because there's no real, you're like, well, I got to pay the bills. The first thing I got to do is pay the bills. Whereas if love was the top of your chart, so the first thing I got to do is go and talk to my neighbor or take my kids and just give them all cuddles. It's like, no, the most important thing is get the electric bill paid.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but he tries to get people to imagine a world where those can be adjusted and changed. Like I know for myself, when I look back on my life, that when I felt the happiest when I was doing acts of service, which would be contribution, like giving away to people that were poor.
Yeah. And you
And that
didn't
has
even have any security at the time.
no security, no money, no nothing, but I felt the most fulfilled in life. But that has been put down to the bottom of my list, because now it's become responsibility, paying the bills, running a business, doing. And then you look and you're like, why am I not fulfilled? Because you need to give away. Don't you remember? That's what made you actually happy. And so as we move through life, I guess this is kind of like a pause for me. I was like, I've been doing lots of like just looking inward, and feeling like I don't know myself. I'm like, who are you?
Wow.
What is this? Who is this man? Like, what drives you? What's going on? Because I so quickly fill my life with noise.
I think what I've been really focused on the last couple of weeks is, I would say what I've been through in the last couple of years is the equivalent of like a near-death experience, in as much as what I've seen my transition out of debilitating fear that literally left me paralyzed, and having to face those core fears head on is the equivalent. Like, I've got a friend who died and came back. She, was floating above her body and had one of those near-death experiences. And when she came back into her body, her kind of calling in life, or mantra, or what she lives by, is this phrase, help people who can't help themselves. So her reason for coming back to live again is to help people who can't help themselves. So she's got a very strong direction, and she also has zero fear of death because she's already experienced it. So that fear is eliminated. And I think what I've noticed is my lack of fearlessness that seems to kind of be coming up to the surface, is because I'm encountering people who are debilitated by fear, and I'm realizing that I don't identify with their fear. I'm like, well, why are you afraid about? There's nothing. There's only plan A. There is no plan B. We're all in to the plan A. And when they say, yeah, but it's so scary, I'm trying to relate, and I'm like, oh, I just don't relate anymore to this fear that they're talking about. And And it's a really interesting thing, because I think what I've experienced is when you're at the epicenter of your core fear and your core wound, and you decide to absorb it and not turn away and face it and let it kind of basically walk right through you, instead of looking away, you look at it and embrace it and surrender to it. What has transpired, and it's only now as I'm having conversations, realizing I do not share the same fear that this person is talking about. Why is it not there? And what are they actually talking about? Because it doesn't resonate with me. I don't see risk as risk anymore, because I put it through the filter of, is it right? Because if it's right, it's not a risk. So I don't need to worry about that. I just focus on whether it's right or not, and then put one step in front of the other. And all of those kind of years of listening to Eckhart Tolle, certainly not all of it is, I'm not an enlightened person, but it all comes back to me in those moments of crisis where, and I was speaking to this friend today who had this near-death experience, because we were kind of comparing notes, and we were talking about how drama comes at us because suffering is just constant. There's always something to get, challenge. There's a lot of challenges, but what I'm noticing is drama will come at me, but I absorb it, and it just kind of passes through me, and I don't react to it. Like yesterday, I had an Airbnb, and when I entered the property after the guests had checked out, I could sense the vibrational frequency had dropped in the place. And I was like, something happened here. As someone violated this space, something bad has happened. Because to me, it's a sacred space. And whenever guests are there, they'll reach out to me and they'll say, there's something special about this place. So people are aware of it. And even this guest who was there a week was aware of it, because he mentioned it to me. It's like, oh, this is a really special place. People, doesn't matter how dense they are, they feel it. But this guy had violated that space, and I could smell it and I could feel it. And unfortunately, he had a bunch of unauthorized guests that came and went, and they took the key to the place with them. So it meant that I was cleaning alone, knowing they had a key to the place. I had asked for it back. And there's no point me locking the doors because they've got a key. So it's kind of a safety issue. And these guys were a bunch of guys, and I started finding evidence of heroin around the place. So there were 5 bent spoons, and, they're ruined. They got powder on them. There's residual stuff. You just start finding it, and blood. So, they've had nosebleeds and all the things that I've started to, now that I've been doing Airbnb for so long, there are all these telltale signs,
Not in here, in Halifax, for sure.
Oh, it doesn't happen very often. It twice a year, this will happen.
You have it on your that little folder. Like, if you want to do coke, there's a straw in the drawer. Use this spoon if you're going to do heroin.
I've got a pestle and mortar there. They could use the pestle and mortar. But the bending spoons, that's not cocaine. That's heroin, right? And they're my nice gold spoons, and I was so upset that I didn't find those spoons for 2 hours, because I cleaned the bedrooms and I'm piecing the puzzle together. I'm like, the vibrational frequency has dropped. This place has been violated. Something has entered this property that should not be here, and this is a sacred space, and it's been wronged. I'm going to have to cleanse the place. I'm going to have to go out and buy some sage, for fuck's sake. But I don't have time to, because I've got guests arriving in 4 hours, and the place is a mess. And I'm messaging the guests and calling them saying, you need to return the keys because I've got a new guest checking in. At the same time, I don't want them to show up while I'm there, because I'm there alone, And the funny thing is with drug users is they are harmless. Like, you would know this from your work with them. They make an exit, but they always forget something. So I'm really annoyed with them because of the state they've left the place in. But they're calling up going, sorry, we left some meat in the fridge. Can we come back for it? And they're out of their head, And I'm like, no, I'll leave the meat in a bag on the road. You can pick it up from there. You're not entering the property, but I can't upset them too much because they know I'm there
No.
alone. So anyway, the funny thing is, what I was most, I suppose, indignant about, I was thinking, okay, I've been in this situation many times before where I've had to take on these types because, just in the hospitality industry and being in Nova Scotia, you just encounter this. And I've done this before, and I was like, if they come, I know what I'm going to say. I'm going to give them a talking to about setting their life in order. You've lost your way. What are you doing? We can't afford for men to lose their way, because if you lose your way, it means I have to be stronger. Do you think I want to have to be this strong? No. You men need to put your life together, okay? Because you being lost affects me. It affects me. I've done this before to grown-ass men in the Airbnb where I'm wagging my finger at them. And I'm like, you need to get your life together. Do you tell me? We can't afford to have another man go by the wayside and lose his way.
There's precious few men in this world.
There's precious few men in this world. And then I have to pick up the slack. Do you think I want to do that? No. Put your life together. So they returned the key, but they left it on the porch, so I never got to see them. And I then end up messaging the guy, and I just said it. I said it on my Airbnb review. So there's a public one, which, I said my piece, and then there's a private one. And it wasn't until I was telling a friend afterwards where I was realizing that what other people might have done, a female on their own, would be calling up a friend like, I'm in a panic. Could you come here? I'm really worried. I'm going to call the cops, and catastrophizing. And it's just one example, just because it happened yesterday, that I'm realizing my lack of fear doesn't mean I'm not conscious that I'm in a difficult situation, but my response to it is not to create more drama. It's just to let the drama pass through me, knowing it's going to be fine. I will deal with whatever is presented in front of me, as I have done with everything, particularly over the last 2 years. And it's kind of created in me, because I've had to face so many of my own personal fears, this very dialed in, dialed down response to the drama of life. That is, there's food in the fridge, there's gas in the car. Can I see any problem anywhere in this room? Can I point to it? I'm still here. Somehow I'm still here. And I cannot handle the future. I can only handle this moment today. So do not go there. Just surrender to what is, and put one step in front of the other, and don't create a drama out of a crisis. Just absorb it and let it pass through you. And I suppose it transmutes. This is the alchemy, is instead of facing a challenge and doubling the problem, the alchemy is you turn base metal into gold. So you transmute what life sends your way as far as problems and drama, and you neutralize it so that it doesn't pass on to anyone else, so you don't create more pain, so you don't double the problems. It's almost like the aim is it stops with me, so that anyone interacting with me would hopefully not get more pain their way because I'm experiencing a problem right now, but I could then attack the next person I see and be snappy with them. Or
you almost double it, right?
Yeah, because you're creating more pain out of what you're experiencing.
You're grabbing it and you're just putting it with more power behind it.
And you're doubling.
And so it goes on.
Yeah. And so how can it stop with me? Double, trouble.
Where did that change? And where did you start? Where was the piece where you?
This is what I'm noticing. It's
Was it
a
all
gradual.
of a sudden, or was it just like a slow, consuming of Eckhart Tolle type of?
Well,
content?
what I think is I consumed his books through a very difficult time, but where I'm noticing is a very gradual change. And this is what my friend who died and came back said. It wasn't sudden. it was a gradual, over a period of time, you encounter people who are going through something and you realize your response to it is entirely different. And then remember, my response would have been their response at one point, and now it's not. Why am I not afraid? This is odd. Why am I not responding the way they're responding? And why are they responding that way anyway? It doesn't make any sense, because everything's going to be okay for a starter. And if you know it's right, then there is very little risk involved. And it's just a different response to the same situations that I'm now walking through life, encountering and kind of not coaching other people through. But if someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I really want to branch out and start my own business," everything to me makes sense that they should be doing it. They know it's right, and yet they're not doing it. Or this is just an example, that their fear is debilitating them and they haven't actually turned and faced it and walked towards it and embraced it and surrendered to it. There's resistance there. And that's where the pain is it lives in the resistance. The resistance is the pain. And so if you crash well, like we've talked all about this over the last few years, if you know your plane is crashing, you have to surrender and just go, I want to crash well, because the plane's already going down and the dashboard's lit up. And it's like this, a different way of saying the same thing over and over again. And I just think I'm noticing that certain
perspective,
things,
right?
And over a period of time, you realize I've changed.
Yeah, you take the power. I think you will keep learning. The plane will keep crashing like Groundhog Day until you learn. Like, it will keep making your cortisol levels fly high and everything go crazy and stress and no sleep. And it will keep replaying in your life until you, it seems to be anyway, until you learn the lesson, which is to just let go and surrender to it and crash well. And it's a matter of, the crash is still the crash, and it's still going to hurt. But it's all a matter of perspective. Like, if you talk to someone who's been through Siberian war, or Russian war, or you talk to someone who went to Auschwitz, if they were still alive, their perspective on struggle would be so different, because they're like, I've already been to hell, and there's nothing there. All that you thought was there isn't there, and I've survived it. So the fact that we don't have any money in the bank, this is nothing. And you realize that if the world heads for hard times, someone like you will do so much better than someone who still hasn't learned the lesson of surrendering to it and just kept like plugging the hole. I was talking to, I don't know if this relates, but I'm in this group in town called Rad Dads, which is a super cheesy name, but it's like dads that get together and just have circle, and we just talk about fatherhood. And holy shit, man! You go around the room, and I stopped halfway through. I'm like, holy shit, man! It's tough. Like, relationships and kids. You can just see this one dad says, yeah, my child's on the spectrum, and I just wear like construction headphones at dinner time, because he screams. She was screaming so much, I just can't. So I just have them around the house, and I just wear them, and it's like,
suffering.
Yeah, it's like, and I keep remembering like hunter-gatherer type of scenarios where if you had a brand new baby and you woke up in the middle of the night with a screaming child, and the person beside you would be in a thin tent and be able to hear that, and the old granny would get up and say, just you need your sleep. You're gonna have to nurse her all day tomorrow. Give me the child. But what you realize when you're in circle is that, like, everyone's suffering in silence inside the walls of their home, and just trying to figure this battle out. And it's not the way we were created. We were created for the community to come and pitch in when we're struggling. But there's none of that, even though there's lots of love for everyone and friendship. But when you're in the walls of your home and the door is shut, no one hears the struggle. But in nomadic type of communities, the walls were paper thin, and the old lady whose kids have already grown up and left, she's going to walk over and say, just give me you, kid, and you go back
Let's
to
hope
sleep.
So.
I
don't
bet.
know.
Yeah, I mean,
I
there
hope it was
would
like
have
that.
been gossip and all kinds of other problems to deal with, but I think that there would have been
Scurvy.
that community. But you
Yeah.
realize, holy shit, we're all like fighting this battle behind these walls and nobody knows what's going on. Everyone's just fighting for their life.
Yeah.
But this,
There's a war on. It's like everyone's just
yeah,
scrambling in the trenches.
well, this one guy shared that he's like, my child's power over me is when we ask him to get dressed or undressed. He just freaks out, pretends he can't get his clothes on. We have to, and it drives us crazy. And every time it's like this thing. It's just like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, that's the lever he has with you, and he's figured it out subconsciously. He's not doing it out of like, he's not doing it purposefully, but he's realized subconsciously that this is the thing that winds my parents up.
I'm going to get a rise out of them, and it's very
Yeah.
entertaining.
So what you should probably do is when he wants to get changed, overdo it. Say, I'm going to help you. No, I don't want. No, I'm going to help pull your pants. I'm going to show you how to put a shirt on. I want to be part of this. And then subconsciously you can be like, shit, the power's gone out of it now.
Well,
Like,
all you do is what I did is my kids would just go to bed with their jeans on. They just
you
go
could
to
do that
bed
too.
fully clothed. Who cares?
Yeah.
What amazes me is that people, I mean, I don't know the situation is, why not just completely ignore it and diffuse this drama? And the
Well, yeah,
children who
diffusing it is
just lose
and so
interest in it.
yeah, you got to take the power out of it. So I was like, and then they'll just shut up because this is not fun anymore. I can't wind my kids, my parents up. But pain and suffering is like that, right? You have to take the power out of it. Like I remember often when I've been through really financial dire straits and you have a lot to lose, you just kind of follow the thread, right? Okay, so I can't pay my mortgage. They come take my house, and you go. I think the thought of what might happen, you need to explore the thought. In my experience, you need to take it all the way to the
all
end
the
and
way down to the
realize
bottom.
that you actually won't be living in a cardboard box on the street because we've got loads of friends and we've paid it forward and someone will take us in our home, and I can always create with these hands, and we're industrious and we're not lazy. And so once you've done that, it's like, all right, well, give me your worst then.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I'm willing to lose this house now because I've already lived it in my head.
yeah,
And I'm like, and I cried a bit, but it was all right.
yeah.
But the movie that we play in our heads, it's not quite, it just freaks us the hell out. And I think it's important just to,
But that's leaning into it, and that's turning and facing it and walking into surrendering to. I think the resistance is where people look away. They're afraid of this thing, but they won't turn and face it and go, I'm going to go right the way down the layers here, of how bad it could get. And then realize I'm going to be okay. And because to me, what kind of takes my breath away sometimes, and it's happened in the last couple of weeks, where I've had a change in financial situation where it's the drop from a higher standard of living to a lower standard of living that's the hardest moment. It's like an aeroplane dropping 1,000 feet in the air, but then when you get to the lower level and it stabilizes, you're like, okay, we're good. I'm not going to be shopping at the the farmer's market for a few weeks. But
no grass-fed beef.
yeah, exactly. Back to the factory we go. But but I think it's very, very hard to switch gears, and that's the moment. Once you have switched gears and you embrace it and you go, right, guys, we're tightening the belt. We're gonna reduce our spending. We're just not gonna go out. We're not gonna go out. Nobody move. And you just kind of recalibrate and then accept this is the way things are right now. And there's a simplicity to it. But I think the hardest part is if your standard of living drops and you have to recalibrate and you're used to going out and the money's flowing and we eat out a lot and we've enjoyed this high standard of living. And there's this panic that happens when you suddenly go, oh, I've got to give it up.
That's weird, isn't it?
Oh, it's such a horrible feeling. And it's never going to be I'm never going to love that. It's like, no, I don't want to lose my footing.
Yeah, it's funny how, like for us, we went to Mexico 2 years in a row. And then this year, I'm like, I don't think we can afford it. And there was this like, because it was so great for our family. And it was
Yeah.
great. Everything about it was great. And
Yeah.
our family and everyone was like, "Aw."
Yeah.
And it lasted about half an hour.
Yeah. That's
And
what's
then and then
crazy.
and then the river just keeps flowing,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
it's like, we moved here. It was like, "Oh, we don't have a swimming pool. Are we gonna miss our swimming pool?" And yeah, we want our cake and we want to eat it too. It's
We're
weird.
such brats.
And we're hoarders, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, a billionaire could have like 5 shiny cars in his garage that he never drives, but you tell him you're going to take one of those away. It's like, no, so you never drive it.
Yeah.
You're just going to take one away. No, but I just like having it. It's like
Yeah.
having it all.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah.
threat to control. There's so many things that get triggered in that moment when you face a bit of loss and the ego's scrambling, going, no, we can't. Yeah. I could just feel my ego not dealing with things very well. It's having a tantrum. And
Mm.
then I
Certainty. You
remember,
want certainty.
you want certainty, you want something concrete, a concrete raft to cling on to. And then if I look back at all the bottlenecks that I've lived through, by our age, like we're nearly 50, you are 50, how many bottlenecks? And somehow we're still here. We're still here and nothing looks any different. If I look around, okay, what I've been through in the last, however many years, nothing in my home looks any different, no matter how much turmoil has gone on internally. It all just looks the same. So outside of my brain, it's all going on in my head, but externally, the fire is still lit. I got logs for the fire this year again. So we've got heat and the fridge has got food in it again, and it's this kind of, I think what it is you have to hear it a million times in a 1,000 different ways. And eventually, and I'm not saying because I know more suffering is coming in my life, because suffering is the most effective way, hands down, to produce surrender. Like there is no more effective way than suffering, like the way of the cross, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, like, well, I think a couple things. I think the sooner we realize that it's magic, the better we'll all be. Because it is just, like I say, like, why does a human being call my company and not the other 100 that are open to them? It's some form of magic that drew them to
Yeah.
with business. And, Jesus said, consider the birds of the air. They don't toil or reap. They don't worry about tomorrow. They don't hoard up. They just, tomorrow comes when tomorrow comes, and they keep living. And it feels like the pain we've created for ourselves in the suffering is because we're storing up wealth. So, like, if you were to compare a bird, your average sparrow, and a squirrel, who would you say is the most stressed out?
Or probably the squirrel.
Yeah, because he's got a stash that he's afraid of losing. Whereas the bird just lives hand to mouth, day to day. And so we create a stash. I've got a house, I've got a mortgage, I've got investments. And then we wonder why we're so worried and stressed. It's like, well, you kind of created this for yourself. Now, you've got now a hoard of nuts because you're worried that you won't have any in the winter. And now your biggest worry is that you're going to lose it and someone's going to come steal it and it's going to diminish. And so I think they say, what's that noise?
Not me.
Some kind of noise. Sounds like a dryer. Again. I think they say a lot of the squirrels, like when they stash nuts, a lot of them just go bad and moldy. Like they've got a heap and then they're not happy unless that is still just a massive heap.
They're
But
probably not
actually never,
stressed. They
never work their way through it.
No, but they're just doing what they're designed to do. They're not doing
Well,
it
yeah,
outright. It's
doing what
just
they're
an
designed to do.
instinctive.
I'm just saying, if you
It's
were
an
to look at those two
experiment.
animals as someone who didn't know you thought too deep into it, Abby.
Sorry. I
and
wonder whether there's nothing wrong, the planning and the scheming that we do. But what I realize is I can't handle the future. when I go there in my mind, if I anticipate, for example, the kids leaving home, and I could ruminate and dwell on that and get really, really sad. And by the end of the day, I'm really depressed at the thought. But the reality is, of course, I can't handle the future. Don't, if I dwell on that, it will overtake me. But can I handle today? And my kids are all still home as it happens. So I'm enjoying that. Don't worry about what you're going to have to face when they all leave home, because on that day, you will have what you need to cope with it. But you cannot handle that future and that moment now. And also, it doesn't exist. It's just a figment of your imagination that you're conjuring up in order to scare yourself. It's just a fantasy, really. It's just a not very pleasant fantasy. But I was feeling sad this past week about a few kind of things that didn't work out, and I was projecting a lot in the future. I'm like, that's going to mean this, and then that business won't work, and catastrophizing. And then I was like, just allow yourself to feel sad today, because you can only cope with today. And, because that feeling's already here, you might as well embrace it, because offer no resistance to what is, because it already is. So I'm just going to allow myself to feel disappointed and sad, but don't catastrophize the future. And can you handle the level of sadness you feel today about it, and just allow yourself to feel the disappointment, and just, is it manageable? Yeah, of course. Today is always manageable. It's tomorrow that's not manageable, because tomorrow is apocalyptic, in your mind. Is the business goes bust, we lose our home. Like, it's very, very apocalyptic, extreme thinking. But today is never really that eventful. You just handle it. Today, today, yeah, of course I can handle today.
It's such a dance. It's such a dance, right? Because you do, like this kind of tug of war between planning. Like if you don't do investments, if you don't do this, like there is a certain part of projecting that is smart and will help you as you move into the future. I believe that the universe rewards conscientious kind of like hardworking
integrity.
Posturing. Well, just like willingness. Like, don't expect all this to happen that we're talking about if you're a lazy ass and sleep in until midday and are not willing to take whatever is presented to you.
Yeah.
Because that's the difference. Because I think that if you're always postured to do the work, then the universe will reward you and take care of you. But if you're like, yeah, no, I was imagining someone was going to knock on my door and offer me $100,000 a year job. I wasn't imagining $15 an hour to dig a ditch. So I'm not going to take that. Like, I've always lived my life like that, not planning. I've just been a hard worker and taken whatever is in front of me, whether that's really ugly, unattractive work or attract. Yeah. And I think that, I don't think it, I know it because I'm 53 years old and I can look back on my history. And like I teach this to my children. I'm like, whatever you do in life, like whatever job comes over you, you do not know who's watching you. Work your ass off like you're making.
I say the same to my kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that is the testament of where I am today. And I'm not in any great ivory tower, but I'm like, I've done the shit, literally shoveling cow shit for fucking ever.
Yeah, but done it well.
By myself in a barn and just done it well. And it's like, and I've got promoted and noticed and moved. And it's not only people that notice you, but the universe, God or whatever is looking at is notices and rewards it. And, and it is so true.
I tell my kids, like, they both have got jobs, and I say to them, never, this is conscientiousness. You do the hard work, even if no one's watching. That is the nuts and bolts of conscientiousness, is you act as if someone's always watching. Never show up to work late. Always be the first to apologize. If your boss criticizes you, own it. Take full responsibility for it. go
Mhm.
above and beyond, like, how can I make amends? And I can guarantee you they'll back off and they'll say, actually, it's not so bad. You know, because of your response is non-defensive, it neutralizes their attack. If you've
Mhm.
done something, you know, be overly apologetic, own whatever you do. And Sapphire, who's 19 next month, she just won Employee of the Year at her job. And there's 200 people that work for this company. And
What's she do?
well, she works at a high-end, it's like a boutique bistro, a French kind of place. But the owners have 5 different restaurants. So there's a lot of employees, you know, involved in that. But she's worked since she's 14 as a host, and now, and you know, she earns really good money. It's very impressive what these servers bring in, and it's hard work, and you have to be exceptionally good with people on the front line with the public, you know. But she was just really pleased because she's put in such hard work, and she
Mm.
won Employee of the Year.
Mm.
And that's what they notice. Said they notice it does get rewarded by the world, because the world is not in the least bit interested in your excuses, in your tardiness, in your defensiveness. They do not give a shit about your reasons for being late. So don't be fucking late. I
Well, and
grill them.
Yeah. And for a conscientious person or someone who understands that, you have never had it so good as far as your time, this time in history, because the world is full of lazy ass,
Don't have to try that one, guys.
self-entitled.
Yeah.
I deserve a break. I deserve this. And so if you have that, and you are going to shine way brighter than when I was a kid, where everyone was nervous about pissing their boss off and everyone was putting the work in. So now is like your moment, because like employers are dying to see that.
Exactly. And I think what's really interesting, because you know, I think both you and I have had fears about the impact of technology, and we've talked about this, and you've had more podcasts than I have talking about this. But I think my personal feeling is these kids have to figure this thing out for themselves. And actually, our kids, if you think about Raven and Jasmine, your older kids, and while they were teenagers, you were really worried. Like Jasmine during 2020 was collateral damage of the lockdown on her phone. Like, you know, I know she spent days, weeks just in her room on technology, right? And then Raven was on, you know, did video games, and you kind of lost him to that for a long time. My kids have grown up immersed in technology, but take my 18-year-old. She got up at 6 this morning, and she will do an 11-hour shift. She won't be on her phone that whole time. She will be dealing with the public, earning really good money. She'll probably earn $400 in tips today. And she'll come home and she'll fan it all out and be super proud of herself. And then tomorrow she'll have a day off and probably doom scroll for 5 hours. But the next day, she'll be out. And you think of Jasmine, who you were so worried about, and now she's a hairstylist who probably is on her feet 8 hours a day, talking with the public, doing old ladies' hair and connecting with them and having relationship with them, and not on her phone. And then Raven, who's got his own vehicle, I think, has a job. You know, these kids.
He deleted all his apps. He even deleted Amazon. He doesn't have Amazon, Instagram.
Okay, this is why.
He's like, I'm not going to be manipulated by the
okay. And Sapphire
government.
comes to me because she's working less shifts because it's quiet and it's winter. She said, I need to start a business. I need to do something with my time. I want to be creative. I want to start a hobby. Are there any books that I should read? So I gave her Atomic Habits or whatever. I bought that for her.
Oh yeah.
And these kids are figuring it out, for all the worry. And I know you guys have had worry about your next batch of kids coming up, but I am a firm believer that it is their task to figure this out. And actually they're doing it. They're crushing it. And they're all going to be in jobs where they don't access technology the whole time they're there. They're getting their life in order. And it might not be at 16 when it was for us, where we were, you know, working 3 jobs. It might be like 5 years later than we did it, because they've got this security of being able to be at home, whatever. they're gonna figure it out, and we don't need to worry, because 100 years ago, people were worried probably about the automobile running people over, and the horse and trap was fine and it was good enough for us. And what's going to happen with all these cars racing around? And there's probably more deaths because of cars than anything else, but no one's going to stop driving, and we've figured out a way of kind of benefiting from it, even though it causes a lot of harm, and technology causes a lot of harm. And I have these worries, I look at my 12-year-old and I'm like, oh God, he's on Roblox all the time. And then I look at my older two and I go, they're figuring it out. And I look at your older two, they're figuring it out. And for all the worry and the tension during those teenage years with your older two, they're doing great. And I think
Yeah, I mean, I think
they
it's
will
like,
do fine.
yeah, we're doing exactly what you were saying with your life, right? Like we're catastrophizing the future. And, I mean, I remember Martha's second oldest who had serious
Elijah?
Yeah. I mean, I remember walking with him and I was like, oh, dude, you are so in your own world. Like, you're never gonna, I don't think I can ever have a conversation with you. Like
Yeah.
he was
But
on
he
the
is,
spectrum, right?
yeah.
Heavily, right? And
Yeah.
like living in a garden hut out in the garden, playing video games all the time, in his fantasy world all the time. And then I go back 5 years later, 6 years later, and he's like a man. And he's like talking to me like, hey, Joby, how's it going? And
He's
he's got
an
a
amazing
girlfriend
storyteller.
and a job.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think that we always A/B our children or these situations, like with the worst case scenario on television, like when you can't pay your bills, you just immediately go to destitute at the soup kitchen, living in cardboard box. Like, holy shit, man, you fell really fast to that in your head. You got to go?
I stopped someone at the door, but I'm not going to answer it. Sorry.
But there are the cases that all scare us. Like there are the kids that literally don't pull out of it, and they're playing video games in their basement and into their adulthood. I mean, that woman Nikki that I had on our podcast that has that Scrolling to Death channel, and she's like in court fighting with all of these parents and talking to parents who have lost their children by, oh my God, like this one recently was like they on YouTube for kids. There's YouTube for kids that's like curated that you can pay for. And on there, the kids had created a hangman challenge. So how long can you hang for, and then put your time in?
Wow.
This is how to tie a noose. And this father who plays hide and seek for his kids every night I saw him on the thing, and he was like, and then every night we play hide and seek, and I went into his room to find him and say, we're playing hide and seek, and he was dead. Because he'd overdone it. He's like, oh, I'm going to do a minute and a half or whatever. And he passed out. So there are, but I look at her and how stressed she is. And I'm like you're fully immersed in that world.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't know. I follow this guy in New Zealand who talks about parenting and relationships. He's really good. And he said, don't take the phone away. Don't teach your kids that you should not have a phone. They are going to have this in their life. What you've got to do is create adventure outside the phone that's more exciting than what's going on the phone in their life. And then they will just use the phone as a tool.
My pushback,
not as their outlet for adventure.
I get
that's a lot of pressure on a parent.
This is my pushback, is that a tremendous amount of money it takes to provide an alternative. If you think of, you guys have really been dedicated, put your kids in Waldorf school, lots of extracurricular activities. I know families that do that. It costs tens of thousands to provide alternative. And it is, I'm sure you would agree, it's a privilege to be able to do that for your children. You've got to have financial means. When you're, like for me, stuck in the suburbs and you're on less than 100 grand a year, say, and what I put into extracurricular activities is less than $200 a month. So it's a $90 family gym pass. So that's what's available to my girls, and they're there every day because they're gym rats. And then my son, it's $92 for jiu-jitsu, and that's it. But I know people who spend $2,000 a month to get their kids off technology. And, I don't think the motivation, it's basically their sports families, hockey, and that's the passion of their family. But I look at that and I go, that's great if you're in the financial position. When people say, we just decided we weren't going to give our children a technology childhood, we were going to give them an alternative, you can guarantee they got money to back that up, and that the average family who doesn't have access to that is subject to technology in a way it's really hard to be creative, and I just think if the government turned around and said, we're going to award every family $2,000 a month so that your kids are off technology, I bet people would jump at it and say, yes, thank you. We don't want them on there either. We just don't have the resources to do that for them. But if the government was supportive
Here's a
of it.
stipend.
Yeah. And I think so many well-meaning parents have the same worry that you and I have. And the difference is not everyone can prioritize to do, to back it. And then you have to just let go in some respects and go, I'm going to try my best. But ultimately, unfortunately, these kids are going to have to figure out, like Raven and Jasmine have done so brilliantly. And I look at my older two, and yes, they doom scroll. And then on the flip side, don't spend a minute on there for a massive marathon double shift where they got up at 6 and don't get home till 11 at night and earn like a big wad of cash. And
I guess
it's all there. It's all happening.
I guess what you have to do is find the gold in, because the thing that stops me, because we're all susceptible to doom scrolling, right?
Yeah, we're all
it's
addicts.
Not like we're all on the crack.
Yeah.
The only thing that stops me and makes me put my phone down is pride. I think just like, I don't want to be that guy, that loser. I'm like, oh, and I feel myself, succumbing to it. And I have a better view of myself than that. I'm like, you're better than that or something. And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to get me. It's like,
right.
yeah. And so I think you have to, and it's brain development, right? Like I watched that with my older kids, like their brain just developed to this place where they started seeing like the worthlessness of it. But it took a long time for when you're a child, it's just I'll eat. When a child, you don't understand that you're going to get cavities. You just keep eating chocolate. And then your parents tell you need to brush your teeth. So I don't see a point in that. My teeth are perfect. And then the penny drops.
Yeah, they
and you
get
get
a
half your
cavity.
teeth ripped. Yeah, and it's like injections and all that. I'm like, shit, I do have to pay for my sins. And
as a parent, if you're telling your kid to get off technology and you yourself are still on there, the double standards are too obvious to them to take you seriously. And so ultimately I'll say to my kids, look, we're all addicts. We've all got a problem with this. We all have to figure out what the fuck we're going to do to get through, and get so sickened and fed up with the whole thing and just go, fuck this shit, I'm taking up knitting or whatever. But I think when teenagers, when it really kicks in, they see the hypocrisy in the double standards and they're not having any of it. They're like, well, I don't see you putting your phone down, and they start getting all sassy, and they're not going to buy it unless you're being radical and like, right, I threw my phone. You're not going to do that. No one's doing anything. And everyone has to figure this out themselves.
It is next level, though, when you compare it to like the invention of cars and television and black and white TV and all of that. Like this is it's with you at all times, and it's an unlimited access to anything you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Like if you want to look at ants, there's a million videos on just watching ants. And if you want to be into porn, there's 10 million videos on porn. So it is, in my opinion, it is like crack.
Level.
But
then we've got AI coming, and that's going to be next level.
I found, though, for me, and maybe I'm just an old man, but this AI thing, like these deep fakes, and I found it's repelling me from watching social media, because I'm like,
Don't
It's
believe
fake.
it. Fake. Yeah,
Don't believe it. And
totally.
I don't know what to believe anymore. And I was following this old farmer dude who would sit on a bucket and in the middle of a cornfield and be like, talk pure wisdom. And I reposted his stuff. And then I've realized, first of all, I started thinking, yeah, there's not much moves behind him. It's all like looking really still. And he looks and he talks like perfect. Like he doesn't pause. He just like, "Rrr, rrr, 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 rrr." And does this old guy, he's done like 4 posts a day. How's he running a farm? Because he's always on a farm. And then I realized it's fake.
Wow. And then you just
It's,
feel like disgusted.
yeah, I feel violated.
Mm.
And so I don't want to follow him. I don't want to follow someone that's not a human. It's like, you got no texture, like fuck off. And so now then I showed Gabe something the other day and he's like, oh, it's fake, Dad. I'm like, how can you tell? He's like, oh, look at his fingers and all of that. But I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, yeah, we're rapidly approaching the place where you won't be able to tell anymore. These little tells are being fixed.
But then what
as we
happens
speak.
is you get dead internet, they call it, where no one human wants to be on there because all it is AI communicating with AI and this repulsion. Because then what happens is you get a
It'll eat its own tail.
revitalization of live music and people wanting to experience human contact.
Is it called IRL, in real life? People want to do IRL stuff. Have you heard that acronym?
No.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like I think my kid said it. Let's go to the beach IRL. I'm like, what? In real life, yeah. Let's
real
not take
life.
our phones.
That's cool.
Let's do it in real. Yeah.
I feel somewhat confident that we're going to figure this out and that there's going to be such disgust at AI where you're like, this is everything I'm scrolling here is not real. And if it is real, I question it. Therefore, I just don't enjoy it anymore. And this is what happens is, how do empires fall? People lose interest and just walk back into the forest. And they just go, you are not captivating me anymore. I am done. And we walk away, and they haven't got an audience. They don't have a host, because humans is somehow we've kept going and moving forward. But I think that is generally how, if you think of the Aztecs and all of these civilizations that have collapsed, they will say ultimately people walk away and those civilizations collapse because they lose their captive audience in some way. Or
It's kind of
something hits the earth and we have a massive meltdown.
It's kind of like the power comes out of it. Like, you picture the classic, like, remember Back to the Future and there was the big bully?
Yeah.
He was in all the episodes.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the first episode of Back to the Future, all the girls wanted the bully. He had all the attention.
And then he's an old bald guy in the end.
Yeah. As you move through the series, it's like he becomes the biggest loser on the block because he never moved past being a bully, whereas everyone else progressed with their life. He was like, yeah. And he carried on with that bully persona, and people were just like, yeah, the power was gone out of it. He was like, I've lost my power. And I think we were at my buddy's turn 50 and he had a DJ in his house and we had this big party, right? And the kids came downstairs and the adults were all dancing. We stayed there till midnight dancing. It's like a really good DJ. And Gabe, I remember Gabe and Amelia were just looking at us parents and just mocking us with our dance moves.
Totally.
And like, oh, this is, and we're like, well, dance. And they're like, nah. And they all stood around the perimeter and we were all having a good old time. And finally, Amelia started dancing, right? And then Gabe started dancing. And then we could not leave. Like, Amelia's like, don't go home. This is amazing. And we stayed until the bitter end. And I think, I'm hoping, I think it will happen. Yeah, eventually the kids would be like, it's more fun over there.
Yeah, I think
like
it will.
They're sitting around the beach having a fire and actually talking, and it's like eating too much chocolate. Some people will just eat until they're 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Before they realize that. And that's what I think us as parents have the fear of. Oh, my kid, I don't want my kid to be that kid that just keeps on eating to the point where it's going to kill them or it's too late. And we have to take them out of the house with a forklift truck. Those kids are generally like, the parents are absent. I've been into some places way back when I was doing lots of work with very poor people, and you go to a trailer park, and literally from the time the lights come on in the morning to the time they go to bed, the television's on, and it's on loud, and it's like Jerry Springer and Oprah Winfrey and all the shit, and it's like, okay, that's very, very different than our house, where there's other options, and we do encourage. So yeah, maybe we need to stop catastrophizing, but it is, yeah.
It can be alarming, but it's the same when you focus so much on what's happening in politics, which I haven't done for a long time. But my mantra now is, how can I thrive in spite of the fact that my government wants to take me out? How can I thrive and make a success of my life in spite of what's coming at me? And I do think that our kids will land in that same spot where they're like, fuck you guys. I want something real, and I'm going to go out and get it. And that's the human spirit. And for me, it took me down when we were very caught up with politics. It was necessary because it was an awakening, and I respect it, and I'm thankful for it, because that moment was very, very pivotal. But I realized if I dwell here, it's going to make me sick. I am aware of the playbook. It's very repetitive. It's very predictable. And my kind of like my meaning in life is, can I be an employer of people? Can I generate success for others and pay it forward and thrive in spite of all the adversity that's coming at me? And if I focus on that, I mean, it's cliche, but ultimately, when you're done sickening yourself on what's out there, that's all your options that are available to you. Is, well, somehow we got to make this work, and we got to create a thriving community and reciprocity, and try and employ people and create something that stands as like a beacon on the hill or whatever.
Well, that's
whatever your thing
contribution.
is, giving back. All
That's
of that
spiritual.
cliche stuff is actually, Chris Williams says that ultimately the cliches are true, and you spend your whole life landing at the same spot that the last generation did, that it's the little things in life, and all of these things that you have to learn the hard way are true. And then we're going to watch our children have to go on that journey as well. But my feeling is this generation that we're watching is so much more self-aware than ours. Like, baby boomers were pretty switched off. Our generation had to go out there and find the information and work for it and get the therapy and become aware. Our children are almost born, the oxygen they're born into is information is accessible to them, and awareness is at their fingertips, and they can land what took us 40 years to land at. They're already there.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a level of and that, Eckhart Tolle would say, is the awakening. That is awareness. The world is gradually becoming conscious, and each generation becomes more conscious than the last one. And this is the slow awakening. And I think, I see that in my own kids. Their level of awareness is incredible.
Yeah, like we grew up believing the politicians, and then had to develop in our later years this understanding that they're out to hurt us.
Yeah.
And our kids already know, because they've listened to us, that
they're not watching
the politicians
anyway.
they're full of shit.
Yeah.
And we don't need to follow the speed limit. And if I want to drive my uninsured tractor up the road, I can fucking do it. And if a cop pulls me over, I'll talk my way out of it. Like, that's the way Gabe thinks. He's like, know, it's like this kind of like, we grew up with such a fear of authority, right? There was such a us and them with authority. And now I think my kids notice that authoritative people, well, they're humans. And like, we were in Starbucks the other day, Gabe and I went in for a hot chocolate late at night, and there was all the cops were there, He's like, oh, look at those guys all drinking donuts and eating coffee. We should go over there and tell them to get out and do their job. And when I was a kid, I wouldn't dream of even looking at their general direction.
Yeah. He probably doesn't see them as having much power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something we've probably watered in him, this kind of like pushing the edge and breaking rules that don't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's really in him to like, it's a stupid rule, so let's just get away. No one's watching.
Yeah, right.
Which I think is great.
Yeah, well, it's the opposite of it's a difficult line, because when we talk about conscientiousness, because I'm the same, if you can break a rule that doesn't make sense, just do it and don't get caught. Like, I'm all for that. If it's a stupid fucking rule, we'll find a way to get. It's an interesting thing to hold, both a desire for integrity and conscientiousness, but at the same time sticking it to the man, going, fuck you, fuck you're taxing me on my taxes. If I can find a way round that, I will.
We were conditioned, though, that God would smite you down if you give to Rome. What is the Romans? Pay your taxes, do the stuff. And so we had, in our childhood, God was tangled up in all of that. And so the guilt was tenfold, because you're now going against what, and so you just had such a guilty conscience.
Yeah, it's true.
But I think kids have to learn it for themselves. Right? Like Amelia, just recently, I don't think I'm exposing her really, but she broke up with a boyfriend, got together with him again, broke up with him again, lots of tears, drama, crazy. And then she recently started chatting with her ex-boyfriend's best friend and one of her old girlfriend's boyfriends. So it's very, hours chat. And so as parents, we were like, Amelia, if this blows up, which it will, because you're in a small community, you are going to be that girl at school that everyone's like, and it's like, nah, I'm fine. I'm sure enough, right? So we're hot tubbing last night, me and her, and she's like, yeah, you were kind of right, Dad. It's like, but I guess I've learned now. Now I know, because now everyone found out, and it was a shit show.
Yeah.
And it's like, you try your best to try and help. You'd be a silly parent not to put your bike helmet on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Too much time. I mean, we still have to kind of pull them back, right? Like, you still have to.
I would say
now,
my teenage girls need me more than when they were toddlers. As far as them, what do I do about, there's so much going on as teenagers in their friendship group and situations like what you're saying. The fact that Amelia said that to you shows that she feels safe enough to say, yeah, my bad, you were right. That's a fantastic conversation, an amazing response. Because if she was more proud and not as safe, she probably wouldn't even tell you any of that. And she would have just concealed it all, because you might have shamed her. And this is the thing, this is what I love doing with my girls. I mean, it's a bit of a extra brownie points to me when it works, is that I'll predict something that's going to happen, like what you guys did. And I'll say, like, that girl is trouble. She's the type of girl that's going to land a teenage pregnancy. She's the village. I don't win. She's the village bicycle. And we know that if a girl stacks up too many body counts, then your market value goes down. Okay, we don't want that. This is not good. This is not good for society. This is not good for anyone. And, because I'm like, it's so important, I think, to just say, this is not what we're aiming for. When you've got teenage girls and the risks are high, and they can get drawn into a culture that says casual sex is fine, it'll all be great, don't worry. I'm like, you need to understand that actually in the real world, that the old traditional values are still very much important. And when you have girls that are running around the town, it's really detriment. They're hurting themselves more than they know. And, and so I'll say things like this, and then they'll come back to me like 3 weeks later. You know what you said about so-and-so? Well, now this has happened and you were right. And it's just really funny to predict stuff, and then it happens. I'm like, that girl there is the kind of girl that's going to climb out her bedroom window and run away. And her parents are not going to know where she is. And then within 3 weeks, she's like, she did run away, and her parents didn't know where she was. I'm like, told you. But it's just the kind of giving them that, let's have a conversation about how to understand human behavior and watch for certain things like, okay, there's going to be a tendency for codependency there. Let's talk
Mhm.
about how that looks and why you shouldn't lose yourself in a relationship, and don't burn your bridges with your girlfriends. Make sure you go out and still nurture those friendships, because that is such an important thing. And if you don't do that, codependency is such a tendency for you to fall into. So we'll have a conversation about how to recognize codependency and how to, just be aware of it. And
Mm.
I think as for girls, what my experience is, they're looking for, tell me what to do, what's going on here. I need to make sense of my world, because their relationships with their girlfriends are complex. And then the boys that come along, they're much more vulnerable in a way. So I have a lot of conversation, and I don't mince my words at all.
Abigail, really?
Yeah,
Surprise me.
because I feel very strongly that it's my job as a mother to not cheer them on in a direction where I'm here, the red flags and the sirens are blazing. And if I say nothing, I don't stop them from
Yeah,
doing anything, but I'm
no.
saying, watch for this. That's not a good sign. I've got alarm
Well,
bells here.
there are some decisions that will change your life, right? Like teenage pregnancy.
Yeah.
You're not traveling to Bali anymore. Like as that ship has sailed forever.
Yeah.
Heroin, cocaine.
Yeah.
That's a end of life.
Yeah.
We are that, that's the tightrope, right? It's like, God forbid your kid gets roped into a hanging competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, or goes to a party where there is cocaine and they make a mistake and there just happen to be that kind
Fentanyl
of
in it.
personality that gets totally fucking hooked. So it's like we still have to be involved and steer the best we can. It's kind of like steering a boat, a paper boat going down a stream. It's like you can't put your hand in front. If you put your hand in front of that boat when there's a stream of life is flowing, it'll just work its way around your hand and get back into the stream, because the stream is more powerful than your ability to be able to stop that person in its tracks. Like life is coming
In a
like
torrent.
a current,
Mm.
and your child is this little paper boat in front of you, and you're the big boat. And if you put your hand in, like a leaf, it will pop around. So it's like you just kind of have to nudge it. Oh, there's rapids there. I'm
It's
going to
just the
try my
awareness.
best to nudge
Yeah.
you over to the left or to the right.
But it's that awareness. Like, what I realize is, if they don't feel safe with you, and my job is that they have so much love and acceptance for who they are that they're not going to go out into the world searching for it and
No.
validation elsewhere. So it's so important. And whether I've succeeded at that, I don't know. But the conversation, I heard this quote that childhood trauma occurs when a child is left in isolation in their pain. So when a child is in pain and they are isolating their pain, that's what creates trauma. But when they're in pain and you're with them and you're discussing it, and we're like, okay, what could we learn from this? And the doorways of communication are open, and they feel love from you and acceptance, and you're not going to judge them or punish them. I feel like that's the best we can do as parents, to basically say, it would be my privilege if I'm the first person you come to tell me these things, and I don't want you to feel any shame, and there's total acceptance here. And just provide something that when they go out and there's the phony that they're exposed to, and I have to teach my girls, how do we recognize a psychopath and a narcissist and someone with dark triad traits? Because that's what you're going to face in the world, and we're all going to come across people like that. And you need the skills to be able, that doesn't mean you can't be friends with them, but really, really important to be aware of people with dark triad traits. And we talk about it for hours around the kitchen table.
That's great.
How to recognize it.
You have to play adult I Spy. You go to the grocery store. Okay, we're going to I Spy a triad and a dark triad, a narcissist.
I tell you, they're rife in high school, and their girlfriends, they'll start mentioning friends that they've got where they participate in certain behaviors, where they'll have an attention seeking friend who's, just got all of these traits. And I'm like, well, we can't diagnose for sure, but I would suspect that these could be some personality traits. And, these are good people to test out on, because you're going to, that this will only scale up in your work life, your career, your personal life, your relationships. So recognizing them in high school and understanding these are problem people, and these are people that you can still be friends with, but you need to have your eyes wide open to the manipulation, to the kind of the setups where they're basically asking too much of you, where they're taxing your empathy, all of these things. High school is just a brilliant playground for, let's understand personality traits and toxic people, and so yeah.
Yeah. They say, I think I heard someone say yesterday, it was like a father's role in a daughter's life is to teach them, primary role is to give them confidence. And I was like, oh. And then I looked at my relationship with Amelia, and it's like, I say I'm much closer to Gabe than I'm Amelia. I am taking Amelia shopping after this. But I was kind of feeling down on myself with my, and then when I heard that, I was like, Amelia's really confident. Like she will say what she thinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and she will answer me. Like if I tell her something, she'd be like, I don't think that's right, Dad.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'm like, okay, you're
Yeah.
doing all right.
Yeah. Do you know what I've noticed with girls as well is that when they, I mean, again, I'm just figuring this out as I go, but when they start leaving you out, distancing themselves, that's when you need to lean in. And I think it's easy as a parent to actually feel rejection from your own kids and take their lead. So if they're kind of distancing themselves and becoming aloof, I've made the mistake in the past of following their cues and being like, okay,
being the child in the room.
They're needing space, that teenage years, they don't want their mum. I'm not cool enough. Now what I do is, hey, let's go on a dog walk. What's going on in your life? I will find ways to meet them at their level of interest. Let's watch a teen drama. And then I'll spend the whole time going, dysfunctional, codependency, he's manipulative, stay away from people like that, because it's a brilliant showcase of real life. But what I've realized is it's my job to lean in when they're leaning away. Then I'm like, that's my cue to say, let's go out on a date. Let's go on a dog walk.
Funny that.
Hey, how's it going with your friendship group right now? And ask these leading questions and kind of be on their case, but not in a controlling way. Just being like, I'm going to try and keep these lines open rather than feeling that sense of rejection that they don't need me right now. I do the opposite.
Yeah, I had a case in point like this the other day. We were going through this stuff with Amelia, and she, obviously we weren't very popular because we were giving her the truth and she didn't want it. And then Tara's very close to Amelia, and Tara said to me, I was feeling kind of like Amelia was just pushing me away, And then she goes, Amelia's sad because she wants to spend more time with you. And I was like, oh my, like the complete opposite of what I thought she wanted less of me.
Yeah.
That was her way of saying, I want more of you.
Totally. She wants you to come find her.
Yeah. Man, it's
and girls, it's the opposite. Whereas boys will be like, he slept in the same bed as me the other week, and he goes, how can you tell if you're insecure? And I was like, trying to discuss with me, recognizing, being aware of feelings inside yourself that could be insecure feeling. I was getting into it, and then he goes, stop talking, I want to sleep now. And I knew the conversation was over. He was done. He had enough information. We're done here. That's how boys are very straightforward, and they'll let you know when they're done. And if they say stop, you better not follow him into the cave. You just let him go into the cave. We're done here. Girls will go into the cave, and that's your cue.
More complicated.
That's your cue to go find them and draw them out and go, let's go walk the dog. Let's go on a date. Things, So I think it's easy to think that they're very different, boys and girls.
Yeah, much more complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Amelia was like losing her mind and freaking out, and Gabe can hear it all, right?
Yeah.
And go tuck Gabe in. He's like, oh my God, what a mess she's created. He could see it all, right? Just so practical. He was just like,
this is
well,
what
for
Wilfie
sure.
did, because he heard a kind of disagreement between my oldest daughter and her boyfriend, and it woke him up in the night. And then in the morning, he comes out, he goes, I got to be honest, I'm really disappointed with how their relationship's going. And it's just like, it's just fascinating to, the boys are watching, they got their popcorn out and like, this is bullshit. Like, what the fuck is she doing now? And as a youngest, he's watching his teenage girls talk about men. And I'm like, now we shouldn't put men in a negative light, but what can Wilfie learn from this? And the girls are like, make sure you open door for women, Wilfie. And, they're basically trying to make sure he's a gentleman. And he's just like, oh, calm down. But it's just really
guys are just
funny.
very practical, right? We're fixers. So it's like, what's the problem? And that's part of the problem as a man trying to relate to your daughter, is that she doesn't want the answer to the problem. She just wants to be listened to. Same with your wife, And Amelia and I were in the hot tub, and she was talking about this whole scenario. And I was like, Amelia, men are hunters. I was like, do you really think that some dude wanted to talk to you for an hour at night before you went to bed just because he wanted to be friendly with you, just like a friend?
Yeah.
I'm like, if he was gay, maybe. All the other men about one reason that they're doing that.
Yeah.
It's like they want to get together with you.
Yeah.
Men are hunters. So don't kid yourself. She's like, we're just friends. We just wanted to be friends. I don't understand. You just wanted to talk to me.
No.
I was like, no, he's got a mission. Is to take you down in a nice way, like doesn't want to kill you like a hunter, but that's his whole motivation for investing that time into talking with you.
Yeah.
Is he thinks that the prize at the end of it is he's going to tag you.
Yeah.
And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah. It won't change.
And this is why God created gay men, because they're fantastic for girls, just to have gay men around them, because they can have all that talk and nothing comes of it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriends was like, gay men are God's gift to women, because they are safe, articulate men who want to talk about interior design and decorating, but have no intention of taking it any further.
And they're slightly less dramatic than a woman.
Exactly. They're just perfect. They're amazing. But women are and I tell the girls, you are the gatekeepers. You are the gatekeepers. And it's really important for you to maintain high standards, because, it does have an impact. It affects whatever your baseline, standard is. Keep to that. It's really important.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, people can disagree with that, but I think in the real world, it really does matter. Because even they know, as much as casual sex has become normalized, even within their friendship group, they'll say, oh, that girl's got a really high body count and none of the men respect her. They have a reputation. And even in that really liberated generation where there's zero stigma, about these things, there's still something to it, that the most valuable are the most particular girls who say no a lot, who turn the guy down, who make it hard for them. The guy's got to jump the hoops. He's got to put the work in. They are still considered, and these are my kids coming up with this based on their own experience, they're considered the most valuable within their friendship group. And it's like, wow, that's archaic, but interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I've got deer all around my property here. If I could easily shoot a deer by opening the gate, closing it again, waiting for it to bed down on my 5 acres, and shooting it with a crossbow. Would I brag to my friends about that or tell them that I did that? No, I'd be probably a little bit ashamed. I didn't 2 days hiking up a mountain.
Spending $1,000.
I would brag about and tell everybody about.
Isn't it crazy? The deer that got up with it, and then you finally found after 3 days of tracking. And
Yeah, we can do what your ex-husband does and just put a pile of apples down and then
Yeah.
shoot it when it comes to eat them, which is lame.
That says it all, really, doesn't it? Anyway, I've got to go.
Lame. Yeah, well,
That was a good 2 hours.
hour and a half. Actual
Okay.
recorded time. There was half an hour of bullshit.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
good to talk to you. I think that one recorded well.
We should call our podcast the extremely opinionated podcast.
That's what it's for, man. Self-employed people. We can say whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, totally.
That's why people should tune in, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
All right. Love
All right.
you.
Love you, Abs. Talk
Bye.
soon.